Hey boys and girls, I thought we would pick up and read a little bit more of our Ramona book today. So let's pick up where we left off from Friday, I believe. Ramona took only a moment to decide what to do. She ran to her cupboard inside the kindergarten building and snatched a crayon from her box. Then she grabbed a piece of paper from the supply cupboard. Outside, she could hear the many feet of the morning and afternoon kindergartens marching off to the big playground. There was no time for Ramona's best printing, but that was all right. This job was not seat work to be supervised by Miss Benny. As fast as she could, Ramona printed her name, and then she could not resist adding with a flourish her last initial, complete with ears and whiskers. Ramona Q. So there you go. She drew her little cat with the whiskers there with her Q. Now the whole world would know who she was. She was Ramona Quimby, the only girl in the world with ears and whiskers on her last initial. Ramona pulled on her rubber mask, clapped her pointed hat on top of it, snapped the elastic under her chin, and ran after her class as it marched onto the big playground. She did not care if she was last in line and had to march beside gloomy old Howie, still wagging his broken tail. Around the playground marched the kindergarten, followed by the first grade and all the other grades, while mothers and little brothers and sisters watched. Ramona felt very grown up, remembering how last year she'd been a little sister sitting on a bench waiting for her big sister Beezus to march by and hoping for a leftover donut. "Yay, yay, I'm the baddest witch in the world," Ramona chanted as she held up her sign for all to see. Around the playground, she marched toward her mother, who was waiting on the bench. Her mother saw her, pointed her out to Mrs. Kemp, and waved. Ramona beamed inside her stuffy mask. Her mother recognized her. Poor little Willa Jean in her stroller could not read, so Ramona called out to her, "It's me, Willa Jean. I'm Ramona, the baddest witch in the world." Willa Jean in her rabbit mask understood. She laughed and slapped her hands on the tray of her stroller. Ramona saw Henry's dog, Ribsy, trotting along, supervising the parade. "Yay, Ribsy, I'm going to get you, Ribsy," she threatened as she marched past. Ribsy gave a short bark, and Ramona was sure that even Ribsy knew who she was as she marched off to collect her donut and apple juice. All right, let's go to the next chapter. We'll read a little bit on it. Chapter 7, The Day Things Went Wrong. Ramona's day was off to a promising start for two reasons, both of which proved she was growing up. First of all, she had a loose tooth, a very loose tooth, a tooth that waggled back and forth with only a little help from her tongue. It was probably the loosest tooth in the morning kindergarten, which meant that the tooth fairy would finally pay a visit to Ramona before long. Ramona had her suspicions about the tooth fairy. She'd seen Beezus search under her pillow in the morning after losing a tooth and then call out, "Daddy, my tooth is still here. The tooth fairy forgot to come." "That's funny," Mr. Quimby would answer. "Are you sure?" "Positive. I looked every place for the dime." "Let me look," was always Mr. Quimby's suggestion. Somehow he could always find the tooth fairy's dime when Beezus could not. Now Ramona's turn would soon come. She planned to stay awake and track the tooth fairy to make sure it really was her father. Not only did Ramona have a loose tooth to make her feel that she was finally beginning to grow up, she was going to get to walk to school all by herself. At last, Howie was home with a cold, and her mother had to drive Beezus downtown for an early dental appointment. "Now, Ramona," said Mrs. Quimby as she put on her coat, "I'm going to trust you to stay all by yourself for a little while before you start to school. Do you think you can be a good girl?" "Of course, Mama," said Ramona, who felt that she was always a good girl. "Now be sure you watch the clock," said Mrs. Quimby, "and leave for school at exactly 8:15. "Yes, Mama." "And look both ways before you cross the street." "Yes, Mama." Mrs. Quimby kissed Ramona goodbye. "And be sure to close the door behind you when you leave." "Yes, Mama," was Ramona's tolerant answer. She could not see why her mother was anxious. When Mrs. Quimby and Beezus had gone, Ramona sat down at the kitchen table to wiggle her tooth and watch the clock. The little hand was at 8 and the big hand was at 1. Ramona wiggled her tooth with her finger, and then she wiggled it with her tongue, back and forth, back and forth. The big hand crept to 2. Ramona took hold of her tooth with her fingers, but as much as she longed to surprise her mother with an empty space in her mouth, actually pulling the tooth was too scary. She went back to wiggling. The big hand moved slowly to 3. Ramona continued to sit on the chair, wiggling her tooth and being a very good girl as she had promised. The big hand crawled along to 4. When it reached 5, Ramona knew that it would be 8:15 and time to go to school. A quarter was 25 cents. Therefore, 8:15 was 25 minutes after 8. She'd figured the answer out all by herself. All right, we're going to stop right there for today. We'll pick up there next time. You all have a great day.